Tran Deep and Deep Thursday stand before the Crescent Gate, shimmering with ancient glowing runes. Cold night wind howls across the mountain peak, carrying whispers of forgotten immortal secrets. Silver moonlight spills over their faces, outlining determined expressions of two destined cultivators. The Crescent Gate hangs suspended in midair, carved with symbols older than recorded history. Both feel the gate's energy pulsing like a heartbeat, echoing deep within their cores. Deep Thursday whispers fearfully about the unknown realm beyond this shimmering barrier of light. Tran Deep steadies his breath, recalling countless hardships that led them here tonight. He reassures her they cannot turn back. Their journey demands crossing this threshold now. Together they raise hands, pressing palms against the cold, radiant surface of ancient symbols. Instantly, icy currents surge outward, wrapping around them like living tendrils of mist. Thunder rumbles overhead as swirling clouds form ominous patterns above the Crescent Gate. Violet sparks crawl across the runes, testing the hidden marks within their bodies. Memories flash before Tran Deep's eyes. Years of training, struggle, betrayal, and growth. Deep Thursday trembles but stands tall, remembering her own painful path to this moment. The gate pulses stronger, symbols shifting color from violet to emerald to golden hue. A vast suction force lifts them upward, suspending bodies in the glowing vortex. A white-clad woman appears within light, eyes cold, yet infinitely ancient and knowing. Her voice echoes telepathically, demanding they prove their souls before stepping inside. The scene melts away, replaced by endless mist, stretching to a ghostly horizon. They realize this is the heart trial, a test of mind and hidden inner fears. Tran Deep sees a dark version of himself with blood-red eyes and mocking smile. "You are weak," the shadow sneers, mere dust among countless cultivators seeking immortality. Tran Deep recalls his master's teachings: conquer oneself before conquering heavens. He centers breath, steady as a mountain, releasing attachments that once bound him. With calm determination, he touches the shadow, dissolving it into shimmering dust. Meanwhile, Deep Thursday faces illusions of her past betrayals and painful childhood memories. Tears streak her cheeks but resolve burns within, forging her spirit like tempered steel. She shouts defiance, breaking the illusion with a surge of blue water energy. Mist rolls back, revealing a luminous path extending toward the distant Crescent Gate. Both exhale relief, feeling stronger and purer after overcoming their inner demons. Hand in hand, they step onto the glowing bridge of light leading them forward. The Crescent Gate reappears, open wide now, radiating a gentle yet powerful invitation. Inside awaits an unimaginable domain, different from any mortal or immortal land. They enter, finding floating islands drifting above reversed waterfalls and silver fog. Black Lake spreads across center, dotted with shards of star-like crystalline memories. Whispered voices of ancient immortals drift through air, echoing timeless wisdom. Deep Thursday gazes upward, marveling at waterfalls flowing skyward instead of downward. Tran Deep senses dense spiritual energy saturating every inch of this realm. Together they draw out hidden flame and primordial water, treasures glowing brightly. Twin beams of red and blue shoot upward, splitting clouds into swirling patterns. Islands tremble and rearrange themselves, revealing a crystalline walkway toward a palace. The palace floats above lake like a celestial lotus, roof adorned with luminous bells. Tran Deep steps cautiously, each footfall echoing 1,000 whispers of past cultivators. Deep Thursday senses a watchful presence, colder and older than anything they've felt before. Reaching palace gates, they find a colossal statue, half human, half dragon, gripping a sword. Its closed eyes glow faintly, exuding pressure heavier than mountains and oceans combined. Deep Thursday murmurs, this could be the legendary soul-sealing stone of ancient texts. Tran Deep nods gravely, recalling myths of a guardian balancing realms between worlds. Suddenly the statue's eyes snap open, twin suns igniting within stone sockets. A thunderous voice declares them successors, but demands proof of their power now. Ground shakes violently as stone soldiers rise from the crystal floor around them. Each soldier wields archaic weapons, eyes burning crimson with lifeless determination. Tran Deep summons his sword aura, arcs of lightning dancing along his blade edge. Deep Thursday calls forth water dragons, weaving currents of blue energy around battlefield. The clash erupts, stone fragments flying as sparks of flame and water collide. Tran Deep cuts through first wave, his strikes fueled by months of cultivation. Deep Thursday spins gracefully, shattering enemies with spiraling torrents of spiritual water. Yet each defeated soldier strengthens the statue's power, aura growing ever heavier. Sweat beads on their foreheads, but eyes blaze with unyielding determination. Their combined attacks finally annihilate the last soldier, dust settling across Silent Hall. Statue's eyes dim, expression softening into solemn acceptance of their strength. A hidden doorway reveals itself behind the statue's massive stone wings. The thunderous voice softens to a whisper, inviting them to proceed quickly onward. Tran Deep supports weary Deep Thursday, their steps echoing in the newfound passage. Darkness envelops them, but spiritual pressure grows denser, almost suffocating. They know the path ahead leads deeper into mysteries beyond mortal comprehension. A flicker of light appears, guiding them like a star in eternal night. The air tastes of ancient incense and forgotten celestial herbs. Each heartbeat resounds like drumbeats of destiny inside their chests. Crescent Gate's echo fades behind, closing their link to the previous world forever. Tran Deep reflects on the journey, realizing they have crossed a point of no return. Deep Thursday feels both fear and excitement, gripping his arm tightly. The path twists downward into a spiral of shimmering symbols and runes. Walls pulse with living light, whispering fragments of prophecy and hidden names. They sense unseen eyes watching from the void beyond the glowing runes. Footsteps quicken as the floor vibrates like a living creature beneath them. Their treasures flare again, warning of another imminent trial awaiting ahead. They exchange a silent nod, preparing hearts for what comes next. Suddenly, the passage opens into a vast underground cavern illuminated by golden mist. Floating above is an ancient seal shaped like twin dragons chasing a pearl. The seal radiates intense power, making their bones vibrate with resonance. Deep Thursday whispers that this must be the heart of the Crescent Gate. Tran Deep closes eyes, sensing currents of destiny converging on this single point. Together they step forward, their combined auras forming protective halos. Symbols ignite across cavern walls, aligning like constellations in night sky. The pearl between dragons begins to glow, emitting a melodic hum. Energy surges through their meridians, awakening dormant techniques within BATs. They kneel instinctively, channeling new power into their dancians. A vision bursts before them. Future paths, enemies, allies, countless possibilities ahead. The vision fades, leaving determination stronger than ever before. The cavern trembles one final time, then settles into tranquil silence. A staircase of light appears, leading upward beyond cavern ceiling. Tran Deep helps Deep Thursday ascend, step by step toward unknown heights. Each stair resonates with celestial chimes, cleansing remnants of old fears. At top they find a balcony overlooking a new realm bathed in dawn light. Horizon stretches endless, dotted with floating temples and radiant spiritual trees. Deep Thursday smiles faintly, whispering they have survived yet another impossible trial. Tran Deep answers softly, promising their path only grows clearer and stronger. Hand in hand they gaze forward, feeling the Turn Deep and Deep Thursday stand on a crystal balcony overlooking floating islands and shimmering skies. Endless inverted forests stretch above them, while creatures shaped of mist glide through glowing air peacefully. The air vibrates with ancient energy, filling their bodies with potent streams of celestial power. Deep Thursday whispers, softly, feeling awe and trembling excitement at the strange world around them now. Turn Deep breathes deeply, sensing his cultivation channels expanding under the overwhelming influx of concentrated spirit energy. Below, massive floating stones drift silently, carrying temples carved from luminous quartz and singing winds. Birds with jeweled feathers and twin horns fly past, leaving trails of sparkles behind them now. This realm defies our old reality, Deep Thursday murmurs, gripping her sword tighter with anticipation today. Turn Deep nods slowly, eyes glowing with determination as he studies the magical horizon before them. A crystal bridge extends ahead, linking balcony to a hovering island crowned by a tall spire. Bells on the spire sway in unseen winds, casting musical chimes across the radiant valley. That tower resembles the celestial archive, Deep Thursday gasps, recalling ancient myths whispered long ago. Turn Deep recalls legends saying only chosen seekers may cross and gain forbidden knowledge forever. They step onto the transparent bridge, each step producing ripples of runes beneath their feet. Colors spiral upward, reflecting their faces, as the bridge hums like a living cosmic entity. Midway across, swirling vortices appear below, releasing monstrous hybrid guardians born of storm and flame. Wings of shadow beat violently, talons glittering, eyes red with timeless fury locking onto them. Deep Thursday draws her twin blades, water essence shimmering like a river under moonlight's caress tonight. Turn Deep raises his golden sword, channeling internal fire energy to form a radiant barrier. The first wave strikes, shrieking, claws scraping sparks from shimmering bridge surface under roaring currents. Deep Thursday leaps, spinning arcs of turquoise light slicing through 3 creatures with flowing grace. Turn Deep thrusts forward, golden streak tearing across the void, scattering beasts into fragments, dissolving instantly. Yet the guardians reform, merging like smoke and shadow, increasing their numbers each passing heartbeat. A colossal serpent bird emerges, its roar cracking sky, wings eclipsing entire floating islands behind them. Firestorms spiral from its mouth, shaking crystal pathway, threatening to shatter bridge under their feet. Turn Deep grits teeth, summoning all core energy into blade glowing like miniature sun bursting. With a thunderous shout he cleaves downward, severing monstrous form into mist and sparks vanishing. Remaining beasts shriek in terror, dissolving back into vortex spirals, leaving silence and humming crystal. Deep Thursday steadies her breath, eyes scanning horizon. Every step here tests life itself. Yet each challenge strengthens us further. Turn Deep replies, gripping her hand with firm resolve. They reach the island's edge. Gazing up at the colossal spire of Celestial Tower, spiraling stairs rise endlessly, each etched with strange runes glowing faint blue underfoot. At the base waits an old man cloaked in gray, staff topped with emerald orb. His eyes reflect countless stars, voice deep and echoing as thunder across ancient valleys. You have crossed the forbidden bridge. Show me what deems you worthy of entering. Turn Deep presents Flame Seed, its crimson light dancing, warming the cold celestial winds. Deep Thursday reveals primordial water drop, blue aura swirling like oceans under hidden moons. The old man studies artifacts, then nods slowly. Prophecy spoke true. Enter, but beware tests. The tower's gates open, golden light spilling like waterfalls across ground and bathing them. They step forward, feeling their bodies lighten, dissolving into streaming motes of shimmering energy. Inside stretches a hall of mirrors, endless, each reflecting different ages, futures, or monstrous selves. Deep Thursday trembles, seeing distorted versions, some crowned, some fallen, some drowned in shadow. Turn Deep steadies her shoulder, its illusion testing our hearts. Stay calm and breathe. From mirrors emerge countless doppelgangers wielding weapons, eyes blank, movements swift and deadly precise. Battle erupts instantly, water and fire energies colliding against spectral blades under mirrored heavens. Deep Thursday spins twin arcs of aqualight, dissolving several doubles into rippling puddles. Turn Deep slashes blazing crescents, golden sparks raining like meteors across reflective battlefield violently. But more copies rise, each stronger, forcing their stamina to drain and minds to fray. Remembering ancient teaching, Turn Deep kneels, closing eyes, breathing steady, withdrawing sword, centering his mind. Deep Thursday follows, sitting cross-legged, aura glowing calm blue, heartbeats synchronizing with cosmic rhythm. Doppelgangers rush but fade upon contact, their forms unable to harm serenity, unyielding spirit. Mirrors crack under silent pressure, scattering shards into spirals of dissolving starry dust particles. Voices whisper, true knowledge requires clear hearts. Not mere blades or burning ambition alone. Illusion fades, revealing a grand library spanning infinity. Shelves floating, books glowing like suns. Deep Thursday gasps, tears forming at sight of legendary celestial archives, endless illuminated halls. Turn Deep steps reverently, fingertips grazing luminous scrolls, sensing ancient power thrumming through words. Volumes fly toward them, opening themselves, inscribing truths into their minds with streaming light. They absorb histories of cosmic pillars, secret cultivation methods, interworld gates, and forbidden arts. Minds expand painfully yet exhilaratingly, like rivers carving canyons, reshaping valleys into profound landscapes. Images flood their vision, towering beings forging stars, wars across dimensions, seeds of coming darkness. Deep Thursday learns new techniques, merging water and fire, weaving impossible currents of duality. Turn Deep glimpses hidden enemy plotting behind veils, promising inevitable confrontation beyond this tower. Their bodies tremble under weight of revelations, yet spirits strengthen, forging unbreakable bonds anew. Light dims gently, leaving them standing before a staircase formed entirely from radiant glyphs. Climb, whispers unseen voice. When you are ready to choose your path and ascend. They exchange glances of determination, hands intertwining, ready to step further into unknown beyond. Each step upward ignites symbols underfoot, casting blessings and warnings across their merging auras. They glance back briefly, seeing floating islands shrink, feeling gratitude for journey already endured. The tower below glows softer, as though acknowledging their courage before releasing its seekers. Stars gather at stairway's summit, forming a golden gate pulsating like heart of universe. Beyond this door lies trials surpassing imagination, deep Thursday murmurs but voice steady unwavering. Then we step forward together, turn deep answers, eyes alight with fire of destiny. Cosmic winds swirl around them, carrying faint chants of long-departed sages, blessing their ascent. Every heartbeat echoes like drum announcing birth of new legend in unseen heavens. They tighten grips, channeling combined energies, weaving protective barrier of entwined blue and gold. The final steps dissolve under feet, leaving them standing on platforms suspended among stars. Ahead, gate of living light opens, showing constellations shifting into paths they cannot read. Pulses of power ripple outward, bending space and time like waves across starlit oceans. Deep Thursday inhales deeply, feeling both fear and joy entwined in this monumental crossing. Turn Deep smiles faintly, knowing everything before was merely prologue to their real odyssey. Around them, star lattice form runic arches, cradling gateway's threshold with protective cosmic embrace. Voices of countless guardians chant in silence, acknowledging chosen travelers stepping beyond mortal bounds. With unified will, they project calm into vortex, transforming turbulence into steady shimmering path. The portal hums louder, harmonizing with their heartbeats, preparing to unveil next cosmic stage. Memories flash, friends left behind, mentors sacrificed, battles survived, all fusing into singular unbreakable resolve. They step closer, energy weaving cloaks around their figures, shielding fragile mortal shells within. Celestial winds carry fragments of prophecy, whispering names of their future adversaries ahead. Whatever awaits beyond, we'll face it together, Deep Thursday declares, eyes bright as dawn. Yes, Turn Deep answers softly, for only together can we carve a path through infinity. Their joined auras surge, igniting symbols around gate, triggering cascading beams of purest light. Tower trembles behind them, sending farewell vibrations echoing through realms like muted thunder. Floating islands realign subtly, as though preparing new equilibrium after chosen seekers depart. A final bell tolls atop spire, deep and resonant, marking end of one cycle. Before them, gateway blossoms wider, showing vistas of unknown continents drifting in cosmic seas. Fractals of time unwind, forming bridges of luminous threads stretching far beyond mortal vision. The gate's heart spins, creating eye of infinite depth beckoning their souls inward softly. Step now, whispers collective voice. Or remain forever outside unfolding tapestry of destiny. They inhale once more, bodies vibrating with tension and anticipation mixed into singular focus. Together, they step across threshold, dissolving into streams of light vanishing into starborn corridor. Behind them, door closes, world fades. Ahead endless journey begins, within higher dimensions. Stars swirl endlessly around, Turn Deep and Deep thus step into the boundless illusionary star abyss. The air vibrates with cosmic energy, pressing against their bodies and testing their inner will. Beneath their feet, glass-like galaxies shimmer, each fragment holding whispers of forgotten worlds past. Deep though whispers softly, eyes wide with awe and fear at the infinite celestial expanse. Turn Deep senses hidden traps among floating lights, warning her of unseen dangers ahead now. They walk slowly, every step leaving ripples of light echoing through the starry void. In the distance, a pulsing dark violet heart-shaped sphere draws them closer, like gravity's hand. A deep vibration resounds, summoning crystal giants rising from stellar mist without any faces. These titanic beings glow with countless stars embedded across their colossal, shifting crystal bodies. A voice echoes inside their minds, demanding proof of heart and power to pass. Spears of silver light launch toward them, tearing space with thunderous, shimmering precision simultaneously. Deep raises watery shields, shaping them into crescents, reflecting stars like shattered mirrors. Turn Deep ignites hidden fire, his crimson sword cutting through spears like molten wind. Their backs pressed together, movements synchronized, embodying unity born from countless shared battles. The crystal beings grow faster, heavier, warping space to crush them within luminous arms. Memories of ancient teachings flash, reminding Turn Deep, Mountain Heart, River Force, unlock unseen doorways. He releases tension, merging his fire flow with Deep's deep blue water force. red and blue swirl into a spinning vortex, repelling crystalline giants with celestial force. A violet beam erupts from the heart sphere, piercing darkness, touching their joined aura. Heart and power aligned, the ancient voice speaks, granting passage to the next path. Giants dissolve into dust, leaving behind a radiant rainbow bridge extending toward the heart. Daiptha exhales relief, wiping sweat sparkling like morning dew across her trembling palm. Each trial feels like dying, she murmurs, glancing at stars swirling dangerously close. Turn Dipe nods calmly, and each trial makes us stronger than before this moment. Their feet step onto rainbow light, resonating with cosmic chords humming across time. Around them, the void turns purple, currents twisting, showing echoes of fallen challengers before. Countless faint silhouettes drift nearby, warriors turn to stardust after failing celestial tests. Turn Dipe grips Daipthi's hand. We must not fail, whatever the cost now. Nearing the violet heart, a gate shaped like pulsing veins reveals hidden carvings inside. 12 giant statues circle the heart gate, each carved with symbols of ancient constellations. Now, Daiptha recognizes characters. Limitless doorway to the inner divine realm beyond existence. As she speaks, statues ignite, stepping forward, embodying 12 legendary star guardians of old. Each guardian channels immense energy, linking to churning storms of cosmic force spiraling above. Turn Dipe summons flame, godsword array, red arcs weaving like phoenix wings shimmering. Daiptha unleashes Waterheart phantom dance, blue currents spiraling as shimmering dragons. Fire and water blend, forming a yin-yang sphere deflecting first wave of cosmic attacks. The 12 guardians attack together, bending gravity into spiraling wells, pulling them inward. Swords crash, waters surge, celestial flames burst, all merging into a cosmic battlefield spectacle. Pressure grows unbearable, their bones humming with strains of universe's raw, relentless weight. Turn Dipe roars, releasing deepest layer of hidden flame, his aura blazing like magma. Daiptha transforms into flowing water serpent, coiling around him as shield and spear. Together they carve pathways through star energy blasts, inching closer toward Heartgate with determination. Explosions of stardust rain around, painting void with shimmering silver rivers cascading endlessly. Time distorts, seconds stretch like centuries as they fight across endless star waves simultaneously. Sparks from collisions form brief constellations, only to vanish under their fierce combined strikes. Sweat, blood, and aura mix, glowing like meteors streaking across their trembling faces now. Daiptha feels her core shaking, but trusts Turn Dipe's steady fire guiding them. Guardians unleash final combined strike, a spiraling black hole swallowing light and space. Turn Dipe counters with blazing sword spiral, colliding head-on against cosmic implosion itself. Daiptha drives watery dragon through vortex center, splitting darkness like dawn over horizon. Shockwaves ripple, tearing illusions apart, leaving only fragments of collapsed stars underfoot, shimmering. Guardians crack, crumble, and dissolve into radiant cosmic sand, drifting silently into endless void. The limitless doorway glows, unlocking, revealing gardens suspended in nothingness, upside-down streams flowing upward. Air smells ancient, flowers shaped like galaxies, leaves reflecting moving planets and moons. Daiptha gasps softly, "We're inside the core, where destinies are chosen or shattered." Turn Dipe steadies breath. Every path led here. This is truth or annihilation beyond. A gentle voice echoes, "You reached the illusory star abyss core. The destiny place." Streams of shimmering memory flow between trees, whispering forgotten names of countless fallen souls. They walk deeper, sensing energy older than gods, humming beneath their very footsteps now. Sky above shifts, turning into mirrored oceans reflecting infinite variations of themselves simultaneously. Dipe thus shivers. This garden bends time and space. We must hold on to reality. Turn Dipe agrees, gripping his sword tighter. Stay focused. Don't drift into illusions ahead. A colossal heartbeat echoes through void, shaking flowers and bending streams toward darkness. At garden center, darkness coalesces, forming a vast eye shimmering with pale yellow light. The eye opens slowly, revealing endless depths spiraling inward like universes within universes. Air thickens, pressing against lungs, as if breathing essence of stars condensed into one. Voice soft yet immense, "You crossed trials, now face the truth of your spirit." Trees bend inward. Blossoms dissolving into motes, floating toward the eye's silent pupil. Daiptha clutches his arm, "It's watching us, judging every heartbeat, every hidden thought." Turn Dipe nods slowly, feeling memories rising unbidden. We must face it without fear. I pulses once, summoning visions, childhood battles, betrayals, hopes merging into shimmering illusions, swirling. They stand firm, letting visions wash through without succumbing to despair or temptation simultaneously. A sphere of mixed flame and water forms around them, shielding hearts from intrusion. Voice approves softly. Courage aligned with unity. You walk path of celestial ascension. Ground beneath fractures, showing endless starfields below, hinting at deeper unknown realms waiting. Turn Dipe senses gateway forming under their feet, pulling gently like tide of destiny. Dipe the breathes slowly, centering mind, no turning back. Our souls already bound here. Cosmic winds rise, petals spinning like comets streaking across their shimmering protective sphere. A second eye appears, then a third, encircling them in a triangle of sight. Light beams cross, weaving lattice of pure knowledge, scanning them beyond physical or soul. Every scar, every victory, every fear floats visible, displayed like constellations in transparent air. Turn Dipe whispers, it knows everything. Only sincerity and strength will open the next gate. Eye triangle collapses inward, compressing into seed-shaped luminous crystal hovering before them silently. Seed trembles, releasing spiral of runes, spiraling like galaxies, forming new constellations brightly. Dipe the extends hand, touching crystal. Warmth spreads, erasing wounds and replenishing their cores. Recognition granted, voice murmurs, but one final presence awakens beyond even my domain now. Darkness deepens, swallowing garden's edges, leaving only them, crystal, and the vast eye. A low growl vibrates, deeper than universe itself, as if reality's foundation protests loudly. Stars flicker out one by one, plunging surroundings into pitch-black trembling with unseen motion. Hold on to me, Turn Dipe says, flame aura flaring to light their immediate space. Dipe the circles, watery shield, forming halo reflecting faint glimmers from extinguished stars beyond. A single line of golden script appears in darkness. True test begins beyond perception. Space folds inward, compressing them through a tunnel of memories and possibilities, intertwined tightly. Their bodies stretch into threads of light, merging with each other's essence temporarily. Voices of countless beings whisper secrets, offering power, threatening doom, echoing like storms. They chant silently their cultivation mantras, anchoring minds to truth amid chaos swirling wildly. Tunnel ends abruptly, spitting them onto an obsidian platform suspended in absolute void. Above, the eye now massive beyond comprehension, iris spanning entire heavens, stares unblinking downward. We're here, Dipe the breathes, at the point of no return. Facing ultimate presence, Turn Dipe lifts sword, flame and water entwined, then let destiny decide who we become. Invisible winds blow through endless darkness as Tran Deep and Deep Thursday stand on obsidian. The giant eye contracts into a glowing pearl, humming with ancient power, awaiting them now. Deep within, hidden flame and water surge, preparing for the coming gateway and new test. Golden runes form around the platform, demanding honesty and true hearts to proceed beyond illusions. Stardust rains down, filling space with memories, each vision piercing like knives into their minds. Deep Thursday trembles, seeing her family's destruction replayed, sorrow flooding her heart like icy water. Tran Deep watches, childhood visions of loneliness and scorn, feeling old scars open again painfully. He closes eyes, igniting hidden flame, whispering softly only the heart is real now. Deep Thursday forms watery hand seals, washing false visions away like rivers eroding fragile sand. Together, they stand firm, storm of illusions breaking harmlessly against their united wills. Today, illusions fade, golden runes turn silver, then vanish, signaling the trial of truth complete now. Space cracks ahead, revealing crescent-shaped door, glowing purple light, pulsing like a living heart. The infinite door opens slowly, releasing ancient winds, half warm, half cold, whispering secrets. Inside appears a lighted path of floating stones, stretching deep into cosmic darkness ahead. This is where we must go, Tran Deep murmurs, flame aura flickering against swirling void. But beyond this door, nothing may remain the same, Deep Thursday whispers with steady resolve. Without hesitation, they clasp hands, stepping together beyond the shimmering edge of the portal. Floating stones transform into lotus lights, lifting them toward a vast spiral plaza shining. Above them, galaxies turn like wheels, cosmic eyes watching from 1,000 glittering stars. At Plaza Center rests a golden scroll surrounded by 12 kneeling giant statues carved. First statue opens glowing eyes, booming voice declaring trial of true heart and path. One by one, statues awaken, embodying fire, water, wood, metal, earth, wind, thunder, light, darkness, void, mind, and emptiness, join, completing circle of ancient cosmic principles beyond. Each force presses inward, testing their bodies, souls, and deepest beliefs, simultaneously and unrelentingly. Trant Deep recalls, forging days, rising slowly without gifts, steady persistence his only weapon. Deep Thursday recalls secret training, pain, and loyalty, her heart steeled like tempered moonlight. They breathe together, merging flame and water into a unified current of honest power. Our path is the true heart, they declare, voices resonating through Plaza like thunder. Statues freeze, then dissolve, their light streaming into the golden scroll at Plaza Center. Scroll unfurls, thousands of ancient characters swirling around, engraving into their cores permanently now. Energy floods their meridians, reconstructing bodies, expanding minds, transforming them at fundamental levels unseen. They sense first step into a mortal path, glimpse of boundless horizons stretching beyond mortality. Plaza dissolves into luminous shards, lifting them upward through layers of cosmic reality unseen. Finally, they stand on cliff edge above purple cloud sea, shimmering with hidden sparks. Far away, a floating fortress city hovers, linked by bridges of radiant light weaving. Voice like wind enters their minds. You reached second layer of ancient star world. Trant Deep feels countless cultivators, imprints lingering, battle scars of old masters etched here. Deep Thursday breathes deeply. We survived, but next steps may be far more dangerous. Trant Deep smiles calmly, gripping her hand. We chose this path. We will continue. Wind carries fragrance of unknown flowers, mixed with distant roars of mythical beasts below. On horizon, a pillar of light rises, piercing violet sky, marking their destiny. They watch silently, sensing future battles, hidden sects, and celestial conspiracies awaiting their arrival. Purple mist coils around their feet, whispering secrets of unending trials and eternal growth. Trant Deep steadies his sword, flame dancing softly, water aura weaving around Deep Thursday. She answers with steady gaze. Heart aligned, soul ready, both spirits forging unity. This world is vast, she murmurs, but our resolve will carve our place. Each step forward vibrates platform, resonating with memories of countless seekers long lost. Far above, constellations form shapes of dragons, phoenixes, and cranes circling the fortress city. The scent of challenge excites Trant Deep's flame, kindling ambition to reach new heights. Deep Thursday feels calm waters deepen, promising strength even in chaos and shifting storms. Clouds part briefly revealing glimpses of ancient runic bridges connecting unknown realms to fortress. Voices echo faintly from mist, calling, tempting, testing their will to move onward. Trant Deep closes his ears, focusing only on heartbeat of shared journey with her. Together, they chant silent mantras anchoring minds to truth, resisting illusions of power offered. Sky turns darker, signaling storms of trials to come, lightning veins flickering across void. Yet within their cores, light grows stronger, shaping inner realms of fire and water. Forward, Trant Deep whispers, flame spreading to his blade like dawn across mountain ridge. Deep Thursday forms watery ribbon, dancing with blade, creating twin arcs of opposing energy. Two auras intertwine, forging bridge of spirit between cliff edge and first light bridge. Step by step they cross, sensing energy coils coiling upward from endless depth below. Wind howls with voices of fallen challengers, warning them of paths and choices ahead. Yet their eyes remain fixed, no hesitation, no retreat, only steady determination, unwavering. Fortress City looms larger, towers like spears of crystal pointing into endless night sky. Runic wards sparkle along bridge, scanning their bodies, judging worthiness of entrance, approaching slowly. Deep Thu's aura flares, showing deep blue heart strengthened by trials past in unity. Trant Deep's flame pulses, revealing core of unshakable spirit earned through pain and perseverance. Together, their combined aura glows gold, dissolving ward barriers like snow under rising sun. Bridge vibrates with approval, shifting runes into symbols of welcome rather than rejection. Now, they step onto final segment of bridge, closer to gates shimmering with inner light. Massive carved doors depict history of fallen sects and risen dynasties across cosmic ages. Trant Deep traces carving with fingers, feeling stories locked within stone, breathe quietly still. Deep Thursday notices a symbol resembling hidden flame and water heart entwined in center. It knows us, she whispers, sensing Door recognizing their dual path chosen already. Golden eyes open on Door's surface, scanning them, then closing with gentle acceptance. Sound of gears echo, Fortress Gate preparing to admit them beyond mortal reach. This is only beginning, Tran Deep says, eyes reflecting Fortress's radiant towers above. Deep Thursday nods, but together, we are stronger than any darkness awaiting us ahead. Gate creaks open slightly, releasing scent of ancient incense mixed with thunderous echoes. Shadows shift inside, hinting at unseen watchers measuring their every movement silently within halls. Light cascades through opening, forming stairway of floating symbols leading into inner courtyard shimmering. They step forward, hearts pounding with anticipation and caution at unknown forces beyond. Fortress hums like giant beasts waking from slumber, runes pulsing across walls like veins. Statues of celestial beings line corridor, eyes glowing faintly as if alive and judging. Wind carries whispers of teachings lost, sect names forgotten, treasures buried in time. Tran Deep senses presence of masters long gone, yet still watching from astral plane. Deep Thursday touches wall, feeling warmth and warning simultaneously emanating from carved stone. They enter courtyard, bathed in violet sun, pillars rising like frozen streams of power. At courtyard's center stands a single figure cloaked in light, neither man nor woman. Voice soft, yet vast, welcome, seekers. The path you chose leads beyond immortality. Figure lifts hand, projecting images of next trials, fragments of hidden sect, labyrinth. Images show corridors shifting, traps, guardians, and chance to claim a seed of origin. Choose wisely, voice warns, each step echoes forever in your spirit and destiny. Tran Deep exchanges glance with Deep Thursday. Determination steady, no fear left inside hearts. They bow slightly, acknowledging challenge, flame and water rising as one aura shimmering bright. Figure disperses into stardust, leaving behind a door of liquid crystal shimmering with runes. Courtyard quiets, only sound their breathing and distant thunder echoing from hidden chambers below. We continue, Tran Deep whispers, stepping toward crystal door, hand extended to press runes. Deep Thursday joins, fingers brushing symbols, feeling them respond like living threads of power. Door begins to melt away, revealing staircase descending into luminous depth of fortress itself. Together they step forward, ready to face Labyrinth's heart and the next evolution awaiting them. Tran Deep and Deep Thursday enter a shimmering corridor filled with floating runes and violet light. Pressure builds, not from outside but inside their minds, testing their deepest hidden fears. The labyrinth shifts constantly, forming paths of fire, water, and an invisible glowing passageway. Deep Thursday chooses the invisible path while Tran Deep follows, flames dim around him. Space distorts black water mirrors reveal twisted versions of both cultivators' future selves. Tran Deep sees a cold, ruthless version, wielding a black flame sword of despair. Deep Thursday witnesses herself drenched in blood, eyes cunning, power corrupted beyond recognition. We must defeat our inner shadows, she whispers, summoning water energy around her palms. Reflections step from the mirror and transform into living doppelgangers with equal strength. Tran Deep ignites a white-hot flame sword, while his shadow wields dark fire. Deep Thursday spins a water net as her shadow hurls shards of frozen spikes. Swords clash, thunderous sounds echo, memories peel away with every devastating strike. Realizing brute force cannot win, Tran Deep lowers his sword, calming his heart. Flames turn from crimson to white, symbolizing acceptance of both light and darkness. His shadow dissolves into mist and flows back into him, strengthening his soul. Deep Thursday embraces her opposite self with transparent waterlight, merging to sides. The mirrored arena fades, revealing a dry stone floor beneath their steady feet. They have passed the first layer of the illusory labyrinth, earning hidden strength. Ahead lies a vast octagonal hall filled with thousands of glowing memory spheres. Whispers of fallen cultivators echo, warning and guiding those who dare proceed further. At the center stands a stone table etched with spirals, lines, and symbols. Deep Thursday channels blue water energy into the carvings, awakening ancient circuits. Tran Deep adds his white flame, merging energies, causing the hall to quake. Spheres explode like fireworks, birthing a cloaked figure with a crystal mask. You passed the first trial. The figure speaks, voice like mountain wind. He points to a new path, descending deeper into the hidden labyrinth core. Remember, illusions are not the only threat. he warns, vanishing into shimmering dust. They step onto a spiraling staircase lined with crawling ancient glyphs glowing faintly. In the center looms a three-headed beast representing fire, water, and shadow elements. Eyes blaze like dark suns, aura pressing heavier than any mountain or storm. Tran Deep erects triple-layered flame shields to resist the beast's elemental roar. Deep Thursday summons a giant water dragon coiling around her, releasing freezing mist. The beast attacks with combined fire, water, and darkness energy in one devastating strike. They split tactics, each taking a head while coordinating strikes on the shadow. White flame cuts through crimson waves. Blue whirlpool absorbs black shadow strikes. Beast howls, body fracturing into countless shining crystal fragments under their combined power. A tri-element crystal drops, glowing like a living heart of the labyrinth's power. Deep Thursday lifts it, sensing balanced currents of fire, water, and shadow. Tran Deep places his hand atop, energy linking both cultivators together. A silver-white light connects them to the deeper labyrinth chamber beyond. A door appears marked with the origin seed symbol, shimmering ominously, but the door demands a sacrifice before opening the third labyrinth layer. Offer your most precious memory, whispers an unseen voice inside their minds. Tran Deep closes his eyes, remembering his mother's final smile from childhood. Flames of memory drift from his palm, dissolving into thousands of fiery petals. The door absorbs the sacrifice, glowing brighter with acceptance and sorrow combined. Deep Thursday recalls her first vow beside the river, letting it flow away. Blue light merges with the door, joining Tran Deep's flame in harmony. The door opens, revealing a cosmic starfield floor made of silvery sand. They step into the third layer, each foot kicking up stardust trails. In the center floats a silver seed radiating primordial power of creation. This is the origin seed, goal of their perilous journey through the labyrinth. But dark sentinels rise, shaped like ancient cultivators with glowing eyes. Each holds a weapon infused with long-lost celestial techniques of devastating might. Voices echo, prove you are worthy or fade into the dust of time. Tran Deep grips his sword tighter, white flames surging to a blazing storm. Deep Thursday focuses blue energy in her palms, forming a spinning water sphere. The starry ground trembles as spectral guardians advance with coordinated precision. First guardian strikes. Tran Deep sidesteps, slicing its spear with a single arc. Water sphere expands, trapping to specters, freezing them into shimmering ice statues. Guardians shatter but reform instantly, fueled by endless cosmic energy from the seed. We must attack their core, Deep Thursday shouts, eyes scanning for hidden nodes. Tran Deep ignites heart, origin flame, a pure white fire burning illusions and essence. Flames spread across the star sand floor, revealing glowing runic veins beneath. Deep Thursday channels water threads into the veins, locking the energy flows. Specters flicker, losing cohesion as the labyrinth's power network is severed. Together they strike the central node, a pulsating core under the origin seed. A shockwave erupts, scattering guardians into stardust, clearing the starfield instantly. The silver seed pulses, acknowledging their victory and binding to their auras. A vortex forms above, sucking away residual illusions like torn silk. Tran Deep feels the labyrinth imprinting knowledge of ancient techniques into his mind. Deep Thursday gains visions of a future path where water and flame unite. The star field condenses into a single stairway leading upward, back to reality. They ascend hand in hand, feeling heavier yet stronger, marked by trials endured. Behind them, the labyrinth collapses into a point of light and vanishes. Above, the sky of Van Hack City shimmers as they re-emerge on a mountain peak. In their hands, the origin seed glows like a newborn son of power. Wind carries distant echoes of those who failed, now freed from the labyrinth. We survived the illusory labyrinth, Tran Deep whispers, his voice filled with awe. Yet our true journey begins now, Deep Thursday replies, eyes fixed on horizon. The seed hums, sending ripples of primordial energy into the surrounding mountains. Clouds part, revealing a colossal silhouette in the distant heavens, watching silently. They sense the Bloodsword Society moving closer, drawn by the seed's aura. They will come for us, Tran Deep says, readying his sword once again. Let them try, Deep Thursday answers, water dragon coiling protectively around her form. Stars realign overhead, forming a map of future challenges they must conquer. A white crane appears briefly, symbolic guardian blessing their path with silent grace. Mountain winds carry the scent of pine and distant battles yet to unfold. The origin seed vibrates, hinting at dormant secrets hidden beyond mortal understanding. Tran Deep focuses inward, feeling a second Danshan form within his spiritual sea. Deep Thursday merges water essence with his flame, creating a new balanced energy. Together we'll forge a path no sect has dared to tread, she vows. Our shadows accepted, our powers united, he responds, eyes glowing with conviction. Lightning strikes the peak, engraving runes around their feet as destiny's mark. The mountain peak transforms into a platform of light, ascending skyward slowly. Beneath them, Vanhak City's lights flicker like stars, unaware of their return. Above them, a gateway forms shaped like a lotus and a crescent moon. This is only the beginning of the higher realm, whispers a distant voice. They step forward, origin seed floating between them, illuminating their intertwined paths. Hand in hand, they vanish into the portal, leaving the mortal world behind forever. Turn Dipe and Dipe Thursday stepped through the shimmering gate into a strange celestial realm beyond imagination. Sky above shimmered with countless floating halos, each pulsing like stars filled with endless divine energy. The air felt heavier yet purer. Every breath infused their bodies with dense spiritual force. Beneath them a massive octagonal plaza stretched, etched with runes of unknown ancient celestial language. At the plaza center stood a crystal pillar, glowing softly with symbols of 4 elements. HEA3, Fong FN symbols rotated slowly, exuding waves of mystical power surrounding their presence. Dipe Thursday whispered nervously, her hands trembling as unfamiliar energy prickled across her skin sharply. Turn Dipe steadied his breathing, sensing HT Chungnujin 3 vibrating fiercely within his palm. 4 passages opened simultaneously, releasing torrents of elemental pressure toward them with deafening roar. Fire roared like molten lava, heat distorting the air with burning crimson shimmering waves. Water pressure crashed icy streams, slicing sharp as blades, freezing the surrounding ground instantly. Wind howled violently, invisible yet cutting, swirling around them like countless razor-edged tornadoes. Illusionary force struck their minds, bending time, creating echoes of memories from distant lives. Focus. Turn Dipe shouted, summoning Nujen Daijung Beseech HIA to shield them from fire. Dipe Thursday invoked Thrilian Chankin, conjuring a giant water lotus encircling both. Fire and water merged, forming rotating barrier absorbing and neutralizing each elemental assault gradually. Their combined energy resonated with crystal pillar, lines glowing brighter with celestial runic light. 10 breaths passed before the pressures receded, leaving the plaza eerily silent once again. A new inscription appeared on the crystal pillar, announcing their qualification for. A radiant circle emerged beneath their feet, pulling them upward through shimmering mist. They landed inside a colossal valley filled with luminous ancient trees and flowing rivers. Each tree exuded soft energy, roots drinking from glowing currents, running deep underground channels. A vast lake lay ahead, reflecting starlit skies, statues lined along its silent shore. Stone statues resembled warriors holding archaic weapons, eyes closed in eternal meditation state. Stairs descended into the lake, leading toward a gigantic hovering sphere of light. The sphere pulsed with primal power, matching perfectly the vibration of HT Chungnujin 3. Dipe Thursday gasped softly, sensing overwhelming resonance between sphere and her own inner core. Turn Dipe tightened grip on seed, heart pounding, sensing hidden destiny unfolding before them. Rising from lake surface, an old man appeared, beard silver, eyes deep as cosmos. His staff shone faintly, aura timeless, voice echoing like bell across sacred valley. You hold the seed of origin, he declared. This is boundary between mortal and immortal. Fuse it or retreat, now. His warning hung heavy, testing their unwavering determination immediately. They exchanged glances, silent agreement forming, fear replaced by burning resolve to ascend. Old man vanished like mist, leaving them with sphere and steps alone. Turn Dipe placed seed upon his palm. Dipe Thursday summoned vortex of water energy, sphere fragmented into countless threads of time-like energy weaving around their merging forms. Each filament burned or froze their veins, cleansing impurities, opening dormant hidden channels. Pain tore their flesh apart, bones shimmering, yet deeper strength surged from core. White fire intertwined with blue water, spiraling around seed, creating a luminous vortex. Explosion inside consciousness hurled Turn Dipe into a black ocean of endless waves. Above ocean burned white fire, below surged deep blue sea, merging into infinite horizon. A colossal seed sprouted in the sky, shedding silver light into his soul. Memories of lost techniques, ancient battles, and cosmic balance poured directly into his mind. Dipe Thursday floated inside a crystalline river, experiencing unity between flame and tide. Her spirit expanded beyond body, comprehending balance of opposing forces in true harmony. They opened eyes together, bodies glowing with intertwined energies never felt before. Dipe's skin turned white gold, eyes ignited, radiating aura of newborn celestial power. Dipe Thu's hair streamed like water, each strand holding shimmering blue currents alive. I feel infinite fire and sea within me, he whispered with trembling excitement. I am the flow surrounding your fire, she replied, voice echoing with power. Suddenly the lake quaked violently, black gate rising from depths like monstrous petal. Thousands of eyes carved on its surface opened, beams of darkness scanning everything. Tatlin Siek Dipe, Thursday gasped, recognizing forbidden gate defense of upper realm. Shadows poured forth, shapeless monsters called Soul Keepers emerging to consume intruders mercilessly. They leaped forward, claws dripping night essence, forming endless tide of writhing bodies. Dipe summoned his new white flame sword, radiant with merged elemental force. Dipe Thursday lifted arms, giant water dragon encircled her forming living armor coil. Monsters lunged, tearing at barriers, screaming with voices of forgotten souls eternally trapped. Flame sword sliced 3 apart, water dragon crushed 10, yet shadows quickly reformed anew. They are immortal, Dipe Thursday cried as pressure increased, threatening to overwhelm them. Eyes on the gate. Dipe shouted, finding the core weakness glowing faintly crimson. They synchronized, merging fire and water again into single devastating lance of light. Lance pierced gate's first eye, explosion of darkness scattering monsters like shattered glass. One by one eyes burst under combined strikes, howls echoing across Cosmic Valley. Shadows evaporated into mist, gate trembling as if dying under celestial judgment unleashed. With final strike, gate cracked, collapsing back into lake, darkness dissolving completely. Lake calmed, silver ripples spreading outward carrying faint chimes like heavenly bells. From center rose jade lotus platform engraved with 4 ancient characters glowing bright. Characters whispered into their minds. Pathway to celestial realm above awaits ascenders. They stepped onto lotus platform, feeling instant weightlessness and divine sense swirling. Column of white light surged upward, enveloping both within its ascension embrace. Stars bent around tunnel, forming spiral roads stretching beyond known upper skies. Dipe Thursday gazed upward, exhaustion replaced by awe. We survived the first heavenly trial. Dipe held her hand firmly. Now we're no longer at the bottom. Tunnel pulsed like heartbeat of universe, drawing them toward unknown higher destiny. Their bodies adapted rapidly, energy channels reinforcing, hearts synchronizing to cosmic rhythm pulsing. Around them visions appeared. Ancient dragons, celestial cities, rivers of stardust flowing endlessly. Each vision revealed fragments of future paths, choices leading to countless possible destinies. They vowed silently to protect each other whatever dangers awaited in higher planes. White flame within Dipe now contained water's cool essence, balancing endless power. Dipe Thu's water aura gained spark of fire, igniting waves with shimmering brilliance. Together they embodied duality, unlocking path of harmony rarely achieved in upper realm. Old Man's voice echoed faintly, blessing their courage and unity across boundaries eternal. The tunnel widened, revealing shimmering staircases leading to floating palaces of unimaginable grandeur. Celestial bells tolled, welcoming new ascenders into hidden sanctum of ancient immortal council. Clouds parted, revealing an ocean of islands, suspended among infinite streams of light. Each island pulsed with distinct energy, representing a trial or a knowledge domain. They understood journey was only beginning, countless challenges lying ahead across celestial expanse, but power and bond they forged granted hope to confront any peril bravely together. Light thickened, forming a protective cocoon, shielding them from turbulence between dimensions. Dipe Thursday closed eyes, letting cosmic wind wash away last traces of mortal dust. Dipe focused inward, feeling seed settling into his Dantian as new core. Resonance between them harmonized completely, creating pillar of stability in infinite changing currents. Ahead shimmered gateway carved from starlight, threshold into second stage of celestial realm. Voice whispered enter willingly or turn back, echoing across both their souls simultaneously. They stepped forward without hesitation, hearts steady, minds clear as polished mirrors shining. Gateway dissolved into soft radiance, welcoming them with scent of distant heavenly blossoms. In that instant, they transcended former selves, becoming true candidates for immortal ascension. Their silhouettes vanished into higher plane, leaving behind ripples like legends forming slowly. Thus began new chapter of journey, climbing toward destiny among gods and stars. Purple clouds swirl above as Trant Deep and Deep Thursday arrive on the floating islands. Air is thin and cold, carrying metallic fragrance and pure spiritual energy across endless skies. Their feet step upon transparent bridges of light linking drifting rocks like silent guardians. Trant Deep's seat of origin vibrates faintly, sensing strange force hidden inside this realm. Deep Thursday tightens her grip on the watersword hilt, eyes scanning for danger. Ahead stands a giant crystal tower, glowing with runes and drawing heavenly purple beams. Bells echo from the tower, each strike shaking their cores and testing inner strength. This must be the second layer, whispers Deep Thursday with cautious and curious tone. Trant Deep nods, eyes locked on tower's top, where light converges like waterfall down. The crystal tower pulses with memories, promising trials of spirit rather than martial combat. Transparent bridge under them flickers with symbols recognizing footsteps and spiritual signatures immediately. A neutral voice announces, "Bearer of seed, step forth to face heart's reflection now." They exchange glances, realizing force is reading their souls beyond any defensive technique here. Deep Thursday whispers softly, "Let's enter together." Separation could amplify illusions inside mental trial. Crossing threshold, violet light swallows them whole, removing ground and sky from senses instantly. Trant Deep stands within golden fields of childhood, hearing cicadas and distant bird songs. His old Stroft house appears, door opening to reveal his younger self running happily. Behind child stands his thin mother smiling warmly, eyes filled with love and sacrifice. Pain strikes Trant Deep's heart, remembering loss he buried under endless cultivation, years long. Mother's voice asks, "Child, what will you become?" Echoing through layered memories without mercy, young self answers, "I will be strong so nobody can steal my loved things." Trant Deep kneels, touching child's shoulder, speaking, "I have returned stronger." Guarding our memories, illusion shatters like mirror, darkness surrounds and new door of light forms ahead. Meanwhile, Deep Thursday stands at riverbank where she left her master long ago sadly. Master's shadow accuses betrayal, disappointment, burning her heart with guilt and unresolved painful longing. Deep Thursday clenches fists, answering, "I seek greater truth. Not betrayal, nor desertion ever." Illusion dissolves under her steady gaze, revealing same darkness and doorway shining bright now. Both emerge from mental trial, sweating yet eyes brighter, inner cores steadier than before. Space shifts again, placing them on giant floating chessboard with glowing elemental cubes shimmering. Voice declares, "Combine elements wisely, cooperation only path. Error brings destruction beyond redemption instantly." Trant Deep senses fire, water, wind, earth, light, and darkness hidden within cubes. Deep Thursday suggests first combination, recalling tactics from their past battles together perfectly now. Fire merges with water cube, forming steam bridge guiding them toward center safely moving. Next, earth fuses with wind cube, generating stable platforms rising under their cautious feet. Light combines with darkness creating balanced gateway toward final puzzle of cosmic energy. Each correct pair triggers glowing runes and melody of stars vibrating inside their chests. Last combination demands total energy from seed, pushing Trant Deep near spiritual collapse completely. He channels deep breath, uniting inner streams, striking cube pattern in perfect synchrony once. Board trembles, then splits, revealing spiral staircase ascending to higher chamber above them. They ascend carefully, sensing new power gathering like storm clouds around Crystal Tower heart. Atop lies immense library, floating books, jade slips glowing with infinite cosmic knowledge. Purple light falls from ceiling forming circle around them, marking recognition from higher force. Woman in silver robe appears, face serene yet eyes fathomless like still deep lake. "I am guardian of Star Knowledge Tower," she states with echoing crystal voice. Trant Deep bows slightly, requesting passage upward beyond second layer toward supreme heaven beyond. Guardian responds, "Strength alone, insufficient. Learn to control power else it devours your essence." Hundreds of jade slips orbit them, transmitting techniques to balance Origin Seed's fierce force. Streams of law symbols, flood mines, mapping safer channels through their meridians quietly. Guardian reveals map of second layer, marking dangers, opportunities, and forbidden zones, strictly sealed. "Beware," she warns. Other beings watch Seed hungrily, neither mortal nor immortal, exactly. Her figure fades into starlight, leaving knowledge and silent air thick with expectation pressing. Deep Thursday murmurs. Something is already observing us beyond this tower's protective barrier perhaps. Tran Deep grasps her hand. Then we must master teachings before facing them fully. They store jade slips, imprinting each rune inside their consciousness for future practice ahead. Stepping outside tower, view stretches infinite purple clouds and countless drifting islands beyond imagination. Dark silhouettes move on horizon. Beasts carrying warriors in meteor armor, banners waving unknown. Deep Thu's intuition whispers caution. These are likely native forces patrolling their dominion silently. Tran Deep nods. Find secluded place to train before contact with unknown powers here. They fly towards smaller floating island with glowing forest and silver rivers singing softly. Landing gently, they erect concealment formation, weaving runes learned from jade slips around. Wind here whispers secrets, carrying scents of star flowers and ancient stones absorbing cosmic light. Sitting cross-legged, Tran Deep channels new method balancing fire-water streams inside his Dancian carefully. Pain once haunting meridians fades, replaced by denser, calmer energy revolving steadily like galaxy. Deep Thursday practices beside him, weaving sword aura with dual element resonance shaping stronger blade. Purple mist gathers forming spiral above them, announcing breakthrough witnessed by surrounding unseen creatures. In meditative trance, Tran Deep glimpses giant eye-opening within heavens staring coldly downward. He recognizes heavenly eye, monitoring newcomers and judging worthiness beyond mortal comprehension levels. Deep Thursday also senses presence, heart trembling yet refusing to break her concentration now. Greater trials are coming, she whispers internally, feeling shadowed future pressing upon their path. Tran Deep answers calmly. Then we rise higher, forging strength before storm reaches us. Far away. Winged beast carries armored stranger watching their island, lips curling mysterious smile. Energy lines across sky converge toward tower, hinting awakening mechanism beyond their perception yet. Guardians warning echoes, control or be consumed, repeating in their minds like cosmic drum. They continue cultivation, origin seed glowing softer, stabilizing like miniature sun within dark. Deep Thursday visualizes river merging with flame, creating whirlpool, sword aura, shimmering violet gold beautifully. Tran Deep merges wind thread into core, allowing faster circulation and sharper spiritual senses. Hours pass like seconds. Their energy fields synchronize forming twin pillars of balanced force. Purple clouds thin above revealing faint silver constellations mapping destiny lines for chosen. Giant floating runes appear near horizon, each representing clan-marking territory across sky realm. Deep Thursday notes shifting patterns, realizing these runes signal movement of armies approaching soon. Tran Deep tests new technique, releasing pulse of balanced fire-water cutting rock effortlessly apart. Deep Thursday counters with spiral blade of water flame slicing through surrounding mist like silk. They smile briefly, knowing progress is real and synergy deeper than before, forging unity. Yet both feel time running shorter, sense of impending confrontation, undeniable, heavy inside hearts. Tran Deep meditates again, communing with faint echo of his mother's words for strength. Deep Thursday recalls her master's eyes now softened, granting silent approval across dimensions infinite. Spiritual winds gather forming cocoon, shielding them from immediate detection of hostile scouting beasts. On distant ridge, meteor-armored warriors summon crystal spy orbs hovering above their gauntlets. Glowing target located, one whispers, sending signal upward to command stationed inside unknown fortress nearby. Tran Deep's new senses catch faint pulse, realizing hunters closing slowly yet persistently now. He signals Deep Thursday. We may need relocate after one more training cycle tonight. She nods, eyes flashing determination. We'll be ready if they dare strike at dawn. Stars rearrange above like chess pieces foreshadowing next game within cosmic board of destiny. Guardian's distant voice murmurs approval, unseen but still monitoring progress of chosen seed carriers. They anchor concealment formation deeper, hiding aura within folds of dimensional layers perfectly. Breathing synchronized, their spirits touch forming silent vow to ascend despite countless adversities ahead. Purple horizon brightens slightly, heralding unknown phenomenon about to unfold across entire second layer. Tran Deep opens eyes, whispering, this world tests not only power but will truly. Deep Thursday answers softly, then our will shall carve path, no matter obstacles or storms. Together they rise, gazing beyond mists, determined to master new strength before cosmic trial. Purple winds swirl above the floating island, veiling Turn Dipe and Dipe Thursday in mystery. Both cultivators sit cross-legged, refining their merged energies after recent breakthroughs in cosmic trials. Turn Dipe's core glows like a tiny sun, spinning and radiating silent primordial power. Dipe Thu's aura blends water and fire, creating a serene yet blazing atmosphere around her. They feel the unseen net tightening, a cosmic pressure pulling them toward inevitable confrontation. Dipe Thursday whispers of hidden watchers circling beyond sight, their intent cloaked but unmistakable. Turn Dipe nods, eyes scanning distant sky, sensing giant shadow birds bearing armored warriors. The island's violet grass shivers under silent energy waves emanating from unknown forces above. Decision forms between them. Complete stellar body technique. Before hunters strike, both activate concealment arrays, learned from the tower, masking their rising spiritual signatures completely. Purple mist condenses into their pores, nourishing veins and marrow with cosmic essence. Turn Dipe feels his body dissolve and reform, cells glittering like countless stars reborn. Dipe Thursday steadies her mind, weaving elemental balance while enduring relentless internal storms. Pain deepens, yet they persevere, recalling their master's teaching on enduring heaven's weight. Suddenly the sky trembles, dark filaments descending like icy threads of divine law. Dipe Thursday raises Water Lotus Barrier, a shimmering dome of liquid light around them. Turn Dipe ignites primordial white flame, encircling both within a ring of living fire. Dark filaments hiss upon contact, evaporating only to multiply thicker at the edges. Recognition dawns. Heaven shackles, a net designed to lock primordial seeds forever trapped. Laughter echoes from afar, heralding arrival of a massive black crystal warship approaching swiftly. A silver-cloaked figure appears, half-beast face glowing with predatory confidence and control. He accuses them of trespassing into the second layer without any sanctioned permission granted. Dipe Thu's sword vibrates, shimmering with dual elements, defying his imposed cosmic order. The cloaked figure summons chains from void, each link heavier than mountains themselves. Heaven shackles tighten, air vibrating like thousands of bells tolling unseen across dimension. Turn Dipe channels, stellar body technique, his frame glowing like a comet streaking. He punches outward, water and fire fused, striking chain walls with relentless might. Chains explode yet reform, absorbing attacks to grow denser, stronger, and endlessly renewing. Dipe Thursday unleashes sword waves, cutting space, but the net drinks her power hungrily. Alarm rises, direct force feeds the trap. Only unity may shatter it. Turn Dipe closes eyes, sensing universal threads, his seed resonating with a deep hum. He grasps Dipe Thu's hand, merging their essences once more into undivided force. Fire-water vortex forms, a shining orb where duality dissolves into unbounded singular energy. The net recoils instantly, unable to absorb this new harmonized resonance of opposites. Cloaked enemy steps back, shocked by impossible fusion achieved on this forbidden tier. Waves of combined power surge, shredding filaments into vapor and dissolving heavy chains. The island quakes beneath unleashed harmonics, stones levitating, purple winds screaming aloud. Warship shields flicker under backlash, its crew murmuring disbelief at this spectacle. The silver-cloaked figure roars, preparing another strike, but hesitates at shifting energies surrounding. Suddenly, a radiant hand descends from the tower, intervening between hunters and prey. Light hand grasps them both, lifting from island, carrying through folding space instantly. In a blink, they reappear upon another distant island, far beyond pursuit. A telepathic voice speaks. Too early. Complete your stellar body first, or perish. Turn Dipe exhales sharply, realizing how near death had brushed their shoulders this time. Dipe Thursday steadies sword, eyes burning with deeper determination to master fusion fully. They recognize the immensity of power ruling this realm, yet glimpse a hidden path. Cloaked enemy glares from afar, warship circling but refraining from closing distance again. The cosmic net retracts partially, leaving faint strands like a massive unseen spiderweb. Their new island shelter glows with softer energy, offering a brief reprieve. Turn Dipe inspects his channels, noting resilience gained under life and death confrontation. Dipe Thursday studies their combined resonance, scribbling runes of balanced elements in sand. Stars overhead shimmer brighter, perhaps acknowledging their defiance, or marking them for future. They vow silently to ascend higher, bending heaven's net rather than breaking prematurely. Purple tides crash below cliffs, echoing like distant drums, heralding future battles awaiting. Turn Dipe's breathing slows, refining new harmonics, sealing microfractures in spiritual vessel. Dipe Thursday meditates beside him, hair floating as internal storms settle into lakes. Their fusion seed pulses faintly, storing knowledge of the net's structure and weakness. Each heartbeat draws cosmic mist into them, forging stronger bodies under universal watch. Warship silhouette remains on horizon, a constant reminder of unseen eyes beyond. Yet fear fades, replaced by certainty of their unique path to freedom. Night falls, but sky remains violet, streaked with silver lines of latent power. In darkness, they whisper plans, charting next training cycles before inevitable clash returns. Turn Dipe recalls Master's warning. Opposites bind worlds. Only unity can unbind heaven. Dipe Thursday envisions merging sword forms with stellar body technique into a living constellation. Together, they plot hidden drills, blending movements until perfect synchronous rhythm achieved. Each breath weaves starlight into veins, tempering flesh like cosmic alloy. Each exhale grounds soul deeper into balance, steady as mountain yet fluid as sea. Island's wildlife stirs nervously, sensing evolving force field radiating from two cultivators. The cosmic web trembles faintly, adjusting around new anomaly. They represent memories of chains and laughter, etched deeper resolve to overcome any imposed control. Dipe Thursday gazes skyward, visualizing slicing open net with transcendent blade of unity. Turn Dipe envisions igniting every strand with primordial flame beyond duality itself. Their dreams overlap, forming mental diagrams of runes never taught anywhere. Shared visions guide next meditations, aligning spirit circuits with interstellar current flows. Slowly dawn breaks with softer violet hues, casting silver glints across their island. They rise together, saluting horizon where warship still lingers like a patient predator. Today they will refine stellar body once more, testing endurance beyond prior limits. Breathing as one, they channel dual force, compressing seed into denser radiant core. Their bodies shine translucent, bones like crystal pillars, veins as glowing rivers. Gravity warps subtly around them, air humming with unseen mathematical patterns. Universe seems to watch in silence, recording this rare evolution of balance. With each cycle, the net weakens slightly, unable to predict new merged signature. They sense distant whispers, perhaps other beings noting shift in cosmic registry. Yet they remain focused inward, building power carefully like craftsmen forging divine weapon. Dipe Thursday sharpens sword aura, folding waterfire into edge thinner than thought. Turn Dipe shapes fists like miniature suns, condensing harmonic strikes with stellar precision. The air shivers around training ground, scattering violet dew into glowing motes. Both leap simultaneously, executing new formation born from fusion dreams overnight. Shockwaves ripple outward, shaking island but not harming its rooted core. Their bodies land softly, eyes locked, sensing unprecedented synchronization. Cosmic seed pulses, approval, sending subtle new channels into their hearts. They kneel, hands joined, sealing vow to transcend heaven's trap together unbroken. Distant warship trembles faintly as if reacting to unseen future catastrophe. The net flickers overhead, strands shimmering then fading as balance increases. A strange calm blankets realm, preparing stage for next dramatic confrontation. In silence they gather themselves, merging breath and will under starlit canopy. Time slows, leaving only heartbeat, wind, and cosmic whisper between them. Their path ahead unknown yet luminous, a bridge from limitation toward infinite possibility. Turn Dipe and Dipe Thursday stand, facing horizon where destiny coils like unseen dragon. They step forward together, forging new chapter beneath violet skies beyond heaven's net. Purple winds swirl across the floating island as Turn Dipe and Dipe Thursday finish meditation silently. They sense hidden watchers around, invisible eyes from the tower scanning their every movement precisely. Dipe Thursday opens her eyes, dual-colored flames flickering, urging Turn Dipe to move quickly. Turn Dipe feels a deep crack beneath island, like a sleeping beast waiting release. He whispers about a path downward, leading into unknown layers beneath this mysterious floating realm. Dipe Thursday nods, sensing strong yin energy rising like breath from a hidden chasm. They stand, cloaks swirling, preparing to descend into darkness under purple skies without hesitation. At island's edge, winds slice space, shimmering with countless bright silver particles dancing freely. They carve temporary runes to stabilize ki before leaping into spiraling abyss below them. Both jump together, bodies wrapped in protective energy. vanishing into violet swirling void. Darkness thickens like ink, dotted with ghostly lights guiding them downward, toward unknown depths. Cold bites their bones. Deep Thursday releases small fire lotus for warmth and vision. Stone staircases emerge from shadows, carved by ancient hands before recorded time existed. Not natural, she murmurs, touching strange runes glowing faintly under thin violet dust. They land softly on black stone ground inside a colossal underground temple, hidden long. Pillars etched with sword-slashing stars, blood rivers flowing across carved heavens above. Center of hall floats soul essence platform, shimmering like frozen water lotus petals. Around it stand 12 armored statues, eyes closed yet faintly glowing ominous crimson light. As they approach, statues awaken, eyes blazing purple, arms rising with stone weapons. Violet whips lash outward, shrieking like spectral snakes, aiming to entangle both cultivators tightly. Deep Thursday spins, sword drawing twin elements into a swirling water-fire defensive shield. Tran Deep punches forward, his stellar body flaring, fists exploding like miniature suns instantly. Statues shatter but reform stronger, stone dust swirling into harder shells, relentlessly regenerating bodies. We must unify again, Tran Deep shouts, recalling Master's advice for ancient traps. Deep Thursday grabs his hands, channeling dual elements with synchronized breathing deep and steady. A six-pointed star array appears beneath feet, glowing white-blue and humming like stars. Their combined power radiates outward, locking statues temporarily, halting relentless assault completely. Tran Deep forms Cosmic Punch, Heavenly Star Fist, condensing stellar essence within knuckles. He strikes center point, energy waves rippling, statues freezing then dissolving into fine dust. Shockwave cleanses Hall of Violet Mist, revealing Soul Essence platform floating unguarded above. They approach platform carefully, sensing chilling yet pure force vibrating through stone ground. Tran Deep reaches out, fingertip brushing crystalline edge, visions exploding inside his consciousness. Images of ancient wars, blood galaxies, unknown sword-splitting heavens flood his mind immediately. He staggers backward, clutching head, whispering words unseen by any living soul present. Deep Thursday steadies him, recognizing platforms, trial-testing heart and destiny alignment precisely. He bites lip, offering drop of primordial blood to Crystal Lotus without hesitation today. Light blossoms like Starfield, a voice echoing. Inherit or destroy. Choose your path. Darkness spills from hole below, coalescing into colossal serpent-like guardian with emerald eyes. You woke me, it hisses, ancient keeper bound beneath temple for countless millennia, forgotten. Deep Thursday lifts sword but Tran Deep signals, restraint sensing kinship within dark aura. You too are prisoner, he says softly, voice resonating with echoing chamber above. The beast pauses, eyes narrowing, demanding proof of unity beyond body, soul, and mind. A vortex opens, pulling both cultivators inward, dissolving flesh into streams of opposing energies. They confront mirrored selves, each representing extremes of water, fire, life, and death combined. Failure means annihilation. Success means unlocking platforms' hidden blessing beyond mortal comprehension instantly. They breathe as one, merging hearts, energies weaving tighter than any previous attempt. Illusions fade layer by layer, revealing singular unified form, radiating cosmic balanced essence. Beast roars approval, temple trembling. You have achieved fusion. Soul essence platform is yours. Darkness retracts, serpent dissolving, leaving behind a black pearl, humming like trapped universe. Platform floats down to Tran Deep's palms, cool yet blazing inside, alive with power. Deep Thursday picks up black nether pearl, sensing gateway to next cosmic tower layer. Hall glows brighter, violet runes spinning, forming a bridge of light ascending upward now. Both exchange determined glance, knowing destiny widened, yet dangers multiplied beyond prior imagination. Let's go, Tran Deep whispers, voice steady but carrying weight of newfound responsibility ahead. They step on luminous bridge, leaving dark temple behind, fading into silent void eternally. Above them moonlight purple floods space, reflecting off their forms like polished crystal surfaces. Warship silhouette still visible far above, its crew sensing power shift below trembling. Yet no attack comes, only silent observation, redditors calculating their next strategic move. Tran Deep feels soul essence platform, merging slowly with his stellar body cultivation veins. Deep Thursday feels black nether pearl linking to her deliliment, sword technique harmoniously strong. Energy arcs between them like invisible threads, weaving new destiny from shared experiences. Lived stars overhead flicker brighter, perhaps acknowledging or warning of their unusual ascension. Now, breath by breath, they ascend bridge, bodies lighter, spirits heavier, minds sharper than before. Past battles flash in memory. Chains, laughter, watchers, island, and violet winds swirling always. We survived because of unity. Deep Thursday murmurs. We'll conquer next with same. Tran Deep nods quietly, focusing inward to stabilize new energy before dangerous upheavals erupt. Bridge narrows as it rises, wind sharpening into blade-like gusts, testing their stability. They shield with merged aura, deflecting cuts, advancing steadily toward shimmering portal above. Portal's frame etched with runes older than heavens, glowing faint golden like sleeping suns. They step through together, vision blurring, reality twisting, emerging onto another floating island beyond. Air here heavier, tinted with green mist carrying scent of unknown herbs and steel. They sense eyes again, but subtler, perhaps new guardians of higher tier, watching them. Soul Essence platform vibrates inside Tran Deep's core, unlocking dormant star channels gradually now. Black nether pearl hums against Deep Thew's palm, opening glimpses of hidden sword diagrams. They kneel briefly, synchronizing breathing, preparing for incoming surge of celestial information flooding minds. Island quakes gently, cracks glowing like molten rivers beneath thin crust of moss. Birds of silver feathers circle above, silent messengers of towers, next trials imminent. This is only beginning. Tran Deep whispers, eyes fixed on distant thundercloud peaks looming. Deep Thursday smiles faintly, sword shimmering. Then will begin stronger than ever before now. They walk toward island's center, sensing ancient altar carved from star metal, shimmering faintly inside. Beneath altar hum faint heartbeat, like slumbering titan waiting under thin surface boundary. They exchange glances, recalling Dark Guardian's words about unity, unlocking deeper truths hidden. Step by step their footprints glow briefly then fade, marking path of balanced force. Sky darkens, two moons rising simultaneously casting twin shadows behind intertwined silhouettes, walking together. A storm of symbols drifts down, unknown language wrapping around Soul Essence platform tightly. Tran Deep channels mental power, decoding fragments, seeing prophecy of heaven's net breaking ahead. Deep Thursday grips sword, whispering mantra taught by master to anchor soul against illusions. A bell rings somewhere unseen, island responding with tremor, like heartbeat echoing through stones. Air grows colder, green mist thickens, swirling patterns of serpents chasing phantom prey inside. They draw closer under aura shield, scanning landscape for traps or hidden constructs silently. On horizon they glimpse an archway of obsidian and light, gateway to next challenge. Between them and archway stand statues again, but different, half flesh half machine warriors. Deep Thursday inhales sharply, hybrids. Remnants of ancient sect mixing metal with immortal essence. Tran Deep steadies breath, feeling Soul Essence platform offering guidance like compass pointing directions. They circle slowly, studying movements, planning combined attack before waking guardians detect intrusion fully. Yet archway pulses invitingly, as if aware of their arrival, testing their patience deliberately. Clouds part, revealing distant tower spire, higher floors gleaming like spears, piercing cosmic veil. Determination hardens, their journey far from finished, but foundation now unshakable through shared struggle. They clasp hands briefly, sealing silent vow to surpass any trap or enemy united. Under twin moon's light they step forward, ready to face next trials beyond horizon. Tran Deep and Deep Thursday step into a strange green-lit world inside the Soul Tower. Metallic ground pulses with energy veins beneath their feet, echoing like a living giant's heartbeat. The sky swirls with emerald dragons of light circling endlessly above the dim horizon. Deep Thew's hand tightens on her sword, sensing the towers will observing them closely. Tran Deep feels Soul Essence platform resonating with the tower's invisible currents of power. Crystalline trees rise like frozen lightning bolts, filled with liquid soul energy glowing softly. Whispers echo from every pillar, speaking of long-lost challengers failing this forbidden level. Their footsteps leave shimmering trails, weaving patterns like cosmic spiderwebs underfoot. The whispers grow louder, promising secrets and dangers hidden deeper within the floor. A vast obsidian gate emerges, crowned by a single colossal eye staring without blinking. The eye scans their bodies and souls, stripping away all veils of secrecy. Both feel past, present, and possible futures revealed like pages of an open book. Deep Thursday whispers in awe that the gate knows their deepest truths already. Tran Deep steadies his breathing, soul essence coiling inside like two dragons meeting. The metallic plane warps into a mirrored floor reflecting twisted images of themselves. Two dark reflections step out, identical but monstrous, radiating deadly intent. A voice thunders inside their minds, announcing the soul test has begun. Shadow Tran Deep attacks first, fist blazing like falling meteors toward his heart. Tran Deep parries, but pain shoots through his spirit like knives of regret. Shadow Deep Thu's blade slashes icy arcs faster than lightning strikes mountains. They realize the battle is against their fears, rage, and hidden desires. Sweat beads on Deep Thu's brow as her clone mirrors every movement perfectly. Tran Deep sees his reflection embodying every cruel choice he could have made. The real Tran Deep lowers his guard, embracing the charging shadow. Darkness floods his mind, but he breathes deeply, accepting every flaw within. The shadow bursts into countless stars, returning to his chest in calm. Inspired, Deep Thursday lowers her sword, facing her own broken reflection. She feels the chains of her fear shatter as she opens her arms. Her shadow dissolves into silver mist, merging into her soul seamlessly. The colossal eye closes once, then reopens with a gentler glow. A thunderous voice grants permission to proceed, the soul test completed. The obsidian gate creaks open, revealing a hall lined with ancient stone tablets. Each tablet bears faint names of legendary cultivators who passed before them. Heavy pressure presses upon their shoulders like invisible mountains of history. Step by step they move through the hall, breathing in sacred dust. Murals flicker on the walls, showing wars between sects and forgotten gods. Their footsteps echo like drumbeats of destiny leading them to the square. In the center, a black lake mirrors the unseen heavens above. Floating lights drift across the surface, fragments of lost memories and souls. Tran Deep peers into the water, glimpsing an old peaceful version of himself. Deep Thursday sees her future self standing atop mountains, smiling. Suddenly the water churns, rising into a colossal serpent-bodied guardian with three faces. Its triple voice demands a sacrifice of deepest memory or a fatal battle. Deep Thursday glances at Tran Deep, fear and determination mingling in her eyes. Tran Deep steps forward, choosing to offer memory rather than fight. The guardian mocks his choice, warning memory loss means permanent emptiness. He recalls his mother's laughter, pulling the memory out like a shining orb. With steady hands he places the glowing memory into the guardian's claws. The creature swallows it, nodding silently as a ripple spreads across the lake. Deep Thursday also steps forward, offering her first lonely night cultivating tears and hope. The guardian consumes her memory, lowering its heads in solemn approval. The black lake splits open, revealing a hidden spiral staircase below. Together they descend, hearts lighter yet emptier without their lost memories. Shadows cling to the stairwell walls, whispering forgotten secrets of previous challengers. They emerge into a small chamber lined with soft luminous stones. A stone tablet stands in the center beside a meditating statue. The inscription reads, "Those who reach this place have entered the tower's soul. To ascend further, you must carve your name upon the soul tablet." Tran Deep pricks his finger, letting a drop of blood inscribe his name. Energy rushes through him as the tower gazes directly into his spirit. Deep Thursday repeats the ritual, feeling a powerful current surge inside her veins. The statue glows, projecting a bridge of radiant light upward into darkness. They exchange a silent glance of determination before stepping onto the bridge. Each step lifts them higher above the chamber, leaving echoes of lost memories. Light swirls around them, forming images of their trials and victories. Whispers of past challengers cheer or warn as they ascend steadily. The bridge vibrates like a living thread, pulling them to the next floor. Stars bloom in the darkness, constellations forming paths toward unseen gates. Tran Deep feels the soul essence platform expanding, resonating with cosmic rhythm. Deep Thursday senses a phoenix-like energy awakening in her Dancian. The air becomes thinner yet clearer, like breathing pure sky fire. Ahead, a faint outline of the next floor's gate flickers in golden mist. Memories of pain and loss weigh less, replaced by calm determination. Their spiritual senses sharpen, detecting countless hidden runes along the bridge. Each rune flashes as they pass, scanning their evolving souls. They approach the gate's threshold, golden mist coiling like serpents of light. Deep Thursday whispers gratitude for surviving the soul test together. Tran Deep nods, eyes fixed forward, voice steady with resolve. The bridge merges into a landing before the unseen door. A pulse of ancient energy greets them like a slow heartbeat. They pause to center themselves, breathing in unison, grounding their chi. Whispered prophecies echo around. To ascend as one, fate threads tighten. Sparks of lightning dance across their skin, harmless but awakening deeper power. They step forward, hand in hand, feeling warmth despite the cold aura. The gate trembles as if recognizing them as worthy contenders. Shards of their lost memories flash briefly before dissolving like morning dew. A quiet voice from nowhere blesses their courage and warns of greater trials. Golden chains retract from the gate, unlocking its hidden mechanisms. The mist clears, revealing vast stairways ascending into stars unseen. A gust of celestial wind brushes their faces, carrying scents of distant worlds. Trant Deep feels a smile flicker. Despite the ominous challenge ahead, Deep Thursday grips her sword tighter, eyes shining with steady confidence. They both sense their cultivation rising, tempered by sacrifice and acceptance. Their footsteps echo like bells, announcing their arrival to the next realm. The tower's deep voice murmurs approval, resonating in their bones. Power flows between them, weaving a protective aura of intertwined colors. At the threshold they bow silently, honoring those who came before. Together, they cross the final step of this floor, entering the golden haze. A blinding flash welcomes them into the unknown challenges of the next level. Chapter ends with them stepping firmly forward, hearts resolute, destiny unfolding ever upward.